Hello and welcome back to Total Football Analysis's live coverage of the Premier League. I'm your host Harry Symeou and I'm delighted to be joined once again by the brilliant Lee Scott to bring you Leeds United versus Wolverhampton Wanderers. Lee, how you doing first of all?
I'm good, thanks, Harry. How are you?
Not too bad, my friend, not too bad. Looking forward to this one. Two of the Premier League's best tacticians, I would probably argue. What are your thoughts sort of going into this one? I know you're big on Bielsa. Are you looking forward to this one? How do you kind of see it going?
I think it's going to be really interesting to see exactly how Bielsa sets up more out of possession than in possession against Wolves. I think that it's become evident, and I think it's an open secret now about this Leeds side that when they came up into the Premier League, a lot of people were really surprised at how heavily they man marked. There was no zonal marking at all. I think in the first game of the season there was an instance where Roberto Firmino dropped into his own half to try and get possession, and the central defender for Leeds just shadowed him the whole way, and it was that comical reaction from Firmino, the surprise the defender was with him. But Wolves set up in a very specific and slightly different tactical structure. It's more of a 3-4-3, and then man marking becomes more nuanced, if you like, because you almost have to match that out of possession as well, which becomes difficult. So I think it'll be interesting to see exactly what Bielsa has in store for Wolves tonight. But certainly, I think that everybody's been enamoured by their start to the season.
For sure. It's a game we're very much looking forward to. And if you're joining us on YouTube or Hot Mic or Facebook or wherever it may be, feel free to smash that like button before we get started. It is very, very important. Let's take you through the two starting lineups this evening. And Leeds have had to make a last-minute change due to an injury to Liam Cooper in the warm-up. He is going to be replaced by Pascal Struijk. Despite what you can see on your screens at the moment, he is in the side ahead of Cooper due to the Leeds man picking up an injury. But it's Illan Meslier in goal. It's Luke Ayling, Robin Koch and Pascal Struijk now at the back alongside Stuart Dallas. Calvin Phillips will take up that defensive midfield position that he has very much made his own. Rodrigo starts with Mateus Klick. We expect Rodrigo to play probably just off Patrick Bamford. Harrison will operate from the left and Helder Costa will play from the right. Of course, a former Wolverhampton Wanderers man himself. For Nuno Espirito Santo's side, it's Rui Patricio in goal. It's a back three of Willy Bolly, Connor Cody and Max Kilman. Roman Saiss and Nelson Semedo are expected to be the wing-backs with João Moutinho and Leander Dendoncker in the middle of the park. And it's a front three of Pedro Neto, Daniel Podence and Raul Jimenez. What sticks out to you, Lee, from those two sides?
I think you already touched upon the most interesting aspect for me is the position of Rodrigo, and it's interesting because I appeared in a podcast a couple of weeks ago now, the All Stats Aren't We Leeds United podcast with John McKenzie, and during that podcast we talked about the possibility that Rodrigo might be used almost as an eight in the centre of midfield. I think we'll see a little bit of that today. You're right, he'll play off of Patrick Bamford, but more to the left in the half space in that eight position. So they'll have different people playing. They'll have different structures in possession and out of possession, I think. But Rodrigo will be constant, and he'll look to drift into different spaces and pockets to collect the ball. I'm not 100% sure on exactly who's going to be playing where at the moment for Wolves. I think that Roman Saiss might play centrally and not on the left hand side, so that's something to keep an eye on just in the first 5 minutes.
Interesting stuff. We will certainly be looking out for that at the beginning. Of course, Wolverhampton Wanderers wearing their Portugal kit, as I call it, this evening. And it makes sense, doesn't it, given the strong Portuguese connection that the club have at present. Let's have a quick look at the two substitutes benches as well. For Leeds, it's Jan Poveda, Ezgan Alioski, Tyler Roberts, Francisco Casilla, Rafinha, Pablo Hernandez, and it's not Pascal Struijk anymore. I think it's Shackleton who's moved onto the bench in order to replace Struijk, who's of course been pushed into the first team. For Wolves, it's Kiana Hoiver, Fernando Marçal, Ruben Neves, Fabio Silva, John Ruddy, Adama Traore, and Owen Otasowie. So, kickoff is fast approaching ahead of this one. It's It's going to be an interesting game, we hope. It's been a crazy weekend again of Premier League action, hasn't it, Lee? I mean, what is going on?
Oh, who knows? It seems to be every single week we're getting more surprises, more controversy. I think that everybody we covered the Merseyside derby. You and I, Harry, with Cam Megan, who's a big Liverpool fan, and I think that the controversy that's followed that since has been notable. It's been a bit crazy for me to a certain extent that people are talking about retrospective action and Jordan Pickford potentially being banned for the length of the Virgil van Dijk injury. I think that's a dangerous route to go down in football. But then you have the Spurs match yesterday when they were 3-0 up and looking extremely comfortable. They took on Gareth Bale, and then before you know it, it's 3-3 at full time. I think that at the moment, a nice little chuckle for you there as an Arsenal fan, Harry. I think at the
Indeed.
moment it's so difficult. I mean, I'm not a betting man. I'm very glad that I'm not a betting man because so many coupons are getting burst by these unpredictable results. Nobody really knows exactly what's going to happen on a week-to-week basis.
Indeed, it's been a crazy start to the season. Of course, it's a very different season. The preparation wasn't what it normally is, and then you have, the thing with no fans in the stadiums. It is a very, very strange season, but things are very open at the moment, and that's what's making this competition interesting. The players just taking the knee ahead of kickoff in support of the Black Lives Matter campaign. Leeds, of course, in their traditional white strip, as I've already mentioned. Wolves look as though they're playing in a Portugal kit. I almost called them Portugal. There you go.
You did.
Here they
This must
come.
be how they attract so many people, how many Portuguese players into the squad. This setup and this kit.
I've got to say, it is a gorgeous kit. I really, really like it, and
Yeah.
I preferred it when Portugal used to wear this colour rather than the sort of brighter red that they wear nowadays. I just think it's a lovely strip. Here is Luke Ayling, his first involvement in this one. Two sides last met in the Premier League back in 2003-2004. The last time Arsenal won the Premier League as well, Lee. There you go. As Ayling's throw is a little bit too much. Well, there's a little bit too much on it, and it goes all the way through for a Wolverhampton Wanderers goal kick. Marcelo Bielsa, such a fascinating character. Lee, there was lots of talk about him coming into the division before it actually happened, but now he's here. He's living up to the billing, isn't he?
Oh, absolutely. I think he's one of the most fascinating coaches in football, and you only need to listen to other top-level coaches like Pep Guardiola, for example, speak about Marcelo Bielsa, and they hold him in the highest esteem, and there's a good reason for that, and we're seeing that this season.
It's Total Football Analysis, bringing you live coverage of the Premier League. It's Leeds versus Wolves tonight on our watch-along. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Don't forget to give the video a like as well. And if you've got any questions for Lee, chuck them in the chat. Lee is the tactical expert. And Lee, Marcelo Bielsa is someone you've covered very closely. You've got a book on him. How can people find that?
It's not out yet. It'll be out.
Okay.
Publication date is January or February next year. We don't have a specific date for it yet, but yeah, looking forward to getting that completed and out and ready for people to read.
Excellent. Here is Helder Costa. Goes back to Robin Koch, a player who's come from the Bundesliga league, a player with a big reputation.
Yeah, a very good player. Played very well for Freiburg last season. David Symeou, who's one of our lead analysts at Total Football Analysis, is a big fan of Robin Koch. And you can see why he settled into this Leeds team now, and his distribution out of the back and in these circumstances is very good.
Costa puts this into the penalty area, and it's dealt with by Connor Cody at the near post. Of course, Connor Cody found himself in the England setup of late.
He scored a goal, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did.
I think I saw that somebody had tweeted that they would get his face tattooed on their leg if he scored, and followed through with that. So fair play for the crazy person.
Why do people do things like that? I still
I have
find
no
it.
idea.
I don't know. But Leeds have the first corner of the game. 3 minutes on the clock. Calvin Phillips is going to put the ball into the penalty area, right-footed. It's met at the near post by a Wolves man. Raul Jimenez, I think it was, back there defending. Put back into the mix by Dallas. Click looks to help it on. It falls to Bamford. He just swings a left foot at it. Cuts across it. But Patrick Bamford, Lee, has been in excellent form at the start of this Premier League season. He took a lot of stick from some of the Leeds fans even last year about his sort of failure to convert enough chances. But he's started this season really, really well. It doesn't look out of place.
He doesn't at all. And he's always been a striker who's had talent. There's always been a slight question about mentality in terms of being absolutely clinical at the top level. And I think he started to answer those questions a little bit. I think last year he missed a lot of what could be termed big chances, but he also scored a lot of goals, and he kept the likes of Eddie Nketiah out of the lead side, and then Jean Augustin, when he signed from RB Leipzig, he kept him out of the lead side as well. Marcelo Bielsa obviously really rates him as a 9, and even now with Rodrigo coming to the team, it's still Patrick Bamford is starting as a 9. That has to tell you something.
For sure. Leeds have got Wolves penned back at the moment. They've got another opportunity to get the ball into the penalty area. It's taken quick by Felix. Eiling back across the penalty area. Just cut out at the near post. Wolves survive as Bamford looks to steer his header towards goal. But it's up in the air and it's an easy gather for Rui Patricio in the end. But that's the kind of smart, quick play that we see so often from Bielsa's Leeds, isn't it, Lee?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he encourages his players to think. He encourages them to do things quickly and to play vertically. That's one of the main tenets of Bielsa's game model, this idea of vertical forward passing, forward running. And that's why they could be so aggressive when they pin teams back like that. But you will see them be creative in those situations, and he's happy to let the players have that freedom.
Here is Harrison looking to get in behind Wolverhampton Wanderers. It looks as though the hosts have won another corner. Lots of pressure from Leeds in the early stages. Is this what you expected, Lee? An aggressive approach?
Yeah, it's never going to be anything else. It doesn't matter who they're playing. This is how Leeds will play. And we talk about people, coaches having only one way of playing, and that's Bielsa in a nutshell. But it's so good to watch.
Ball comes towards the edge of the penalty area. Helped into the penalty area. There's Patrick Bamford. He heads it in, but the flag is up. Of course, VAR will have a look at this.
That looked close at first glance.
Certainly did. Let's have another look at it. But was helped on by Harrison, though. He's just a little bit slacking getting back.
But that was clever from Harrison there. He's never going to score with a header from outside the penalty area, but he just guided it back into an area where he knew Bamford was still positioned. Very clever.
Indeed. There's a couple of you in the comments calling for us to show the pictures from the game. Well, we can't do that because we'd be breaching copyright, which is just not allowed. It's illegal, and we're here to bring you tactical analysis of the game and in the form of a live watch along. So we hope you enjoy what we're bringing you, and we hope you can enjoy it alongside the television pictures. But unfortunately, we cannot show the game here. If you want to sync our broadcast, though, with your television pictures, then head over to the Hot Mic app, give it a download, follow Total Football Analysis, and you'll be able to sync the timing with your TV. And that way, everything will be in order, in line, and you'll be able to follow the game with our commentary rather than that of the television. So, yeah. But unfortunately, we can't show you the game, so I do apologise. It is a throw into Wolverhampton Wanderers on that far side, their right-hand side. Symeou is going to take it. Jimenez just lets it run. Then Donker unable to gather it as Harrison plays it down the line. Wolves get it clear again through Connor Cody. Here's Daniel Pedence chasing Robin Koch, but he does really, really well to sell the Portuguese winger the dummy. Here's Klich. Ayling with the overlapping run. Gets forward so well, doesn't he, Luke Ayling?
He does. Very hard worker, up and down the pitch all the time and supporting Helder Costa on this side constantly.
Here is Helder Costa. Lovely interplay with Rodrigo. Lovely dummy there as well. Then gets past Moutinho, goes down. He wants a penalty. Leeds are appealing for it. The referee waves the appeals away. Just waiting for the
I,
replay on this.
I think he potentially threw himself down a little bit. Not a dive, but trying to win the penalty for sure.
Yeah, he certainly does go down quite easily. I don't think there's enough in that from Moutinho. Certainly puts an arm across
Yeah.
Helder Costa, but it's not enough, is it?
The thing is, it was a clever turn from Helder Costa. He had a chance to get into that ball.
He did. Here come Leeds once again, though. Click in the corner. Back to Ayling. Puts it across the penalty area. There was Rodrigo. He got something on it, but it was just over Rui Patricio's goal. But Wolves are in a little bit of trouble here, Lee. They're really struggling to get out. They're struggling with the fluency with which Leeds are playing, the movement, the pace of it.
Yeah, you talked about Luke Ayling and the fact that he gets forward, but what Leeds do really well is that they create overloads in the wide areas. So the fullback goes forward to support the wide attacker, but at the same time, either Bamford from the 9 position or the central midfielder will move over to that flank as well, and they'll create little triangles and overloads wide and play through you there. That's what we saw with that opportunity that Helder Costa had to get into the box. There were two combinations in quick succession that just played straight through Wolves. At the moment, Wolves are struggling to find a way to counteract it.
Here are Wolves in possession now. Podence has gone down holding his face. I think he just got caught there. Calvin Phillips was the one who caught him. Podence, of course, a former Olympiacos man. Put in a couple of impressive displays in the Champions League last season, playing for the Greek side.
He was very good at Sporting Lisbon as well. I can't quite recall if he was there at the time when the fans invaded the training ground and it led to a number of players cancelling their contracts at the club. That was how Wolves ended up getting Rui Patricio, although they did reach an agreement to pay a small fee, not quite what he was worth. I think that Daniel Perez could have been there at the same time, and I think that's how he ended up going to Olympiacos. But there's always been talent there. He's a very explosive player. Really good close control, really good pace. He'll look to get in behind, but that's kind of what Wolves need in order to support Raul Jimenez in those areas, especially with Diego Jota now having gone to Liverpool. They need somebody who can provide a little bit of creativity in wide areas.
For sure. Podence is still down. He's got blood on his hands, which means he's certainly taken a whack from Calvin Phillips there. Just while the game is paused, Lee, David Coote is the referee this evening, the man who was the VAR in the Merseyside derby. He's taken a world of criticism since that game, and now he's in the spotlight here at Elland Road this evening. And incidentally, Michael Oliver, who was the referee on the pitch in the Merseyside derby, is today the VAR. So roles reversed this evening.
I think that it's so difficult because we talked about it during the game on Saturday during the Merseyside derby. We talked about the fact that the challenge from Pickford of Van Dijk was extremely dangerous, and we did both agree that there should have been a way retrospectively during the match that VAR said no, he has to be punished in some way. But by the letter of the law of the game, the play had stopped due to an offside when that happened. So the referee, as far as he's concerned, play has stopped. Then you would think there would still be something in there about dangerous behaviour, endangering another player, though. So it's very difficult. Obviously, it's really unfortunate that Virgil van Dijk looks like he's going to lose a significant amount of time this season because of that.
Yeah, for sure.
And then the offside with Sadio Mane for the disallowed third goal for Liverpool. I don't think anybody who's seen those pictures could agree that looked offside. Again, it's just part of the frustration with VAR, though, but it's here to stay.
It is here to stay, and we've got to find a way, haven't we, of getting the best out of it. I still think that it brings a lot of good. Obviously, there are some negatives as well, but I mean, that offside in particular was one that I found really, really difficult to get on board with, and I'm no Liverpool fan, let's put it that way.
It's not helped by people on social media who draw their own lines onto these things as well, though, and you can clearly see that the lines are diagonal and not straight.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that once the game's passed, you need to move on a little bit, as frustrating as that can be at times.
Yeah, I mean, there's been calls today, even from some of the most high-profile of journalists, saying that Jordan Pickford, for example, should be banned for the length of time that Virgil van Dijk is out. And it's that kind of overreaction that just adds fuel to the fire in this whole VAR debate, isn't it?
Yeah, and it sets a very dangerous precedent as well. I mean, you could technically say that why wasn't Ryan Shawcross banned for the whole length of Eduardo's injury when Eduardo, the Arsenal striker, had his
Exactly.
ankle shattered by a bad tackle. These tackles happen at all times. You have to take them in good faith that the players don't deliberately try to hurt one another.
Indeed. Here come Leeds once more. Harrison gets ahead to that inside to Rodrigo. He takes it down. Just a quick reminder of what happened earlier on in the Premier League. It was
Not very much.
West Bromwich Albion 0, Burnley 0. Exactly, Lee. Not very much. And to think that there's people that paid $14.95 to watch that.
Pay-per-view.
I think you'd need to pay me a lot more than $14.95 to watch that, to be honest. First yellow card of the game. It's gone to Luke Ayling for that challenge. Just stepped inside Podence and then kind of just... I think he left something on him, didn't he?
Yeah, it was clumsy. The ball was gone. He lost the ball, but he was challenging through to try and win the ball. He just made contact with the Wolves player. It was a booking, but it wasn't malicious.
Agreed.
You can see the TV now his touch back for the game so far, and you can see exactly why he's so important for this Leeds side. The majority of his touches have been in the opposition half already.
Yeah. It's a sign of how the game's gone so far as well, though, territorially, isn't it? Leeds have very much been on top.
Yeah, all of this in-game data, it can be used to provide a picture of the game, and that's why you see coaches and you see coaching staff with iPads and things on the touchline more now, because they have access to all that data in real time to show them where the danger lies from the opposition, where there are potential areas that can break through. So as well as watching the game, you can watch it through the data as well, just to get a more complete view, if you like, I guess.
Yep.
That's right.
Go ahead.
There are some coaches who can do it in real time. There are coaches like Pep Guardiola, Alex Ferguson was another, Arsene Wenger was another, who can process all this information and they understand what's happening without having to rely on data too. But it's such an integral part of the game now.
It is indeed. Here's Patrick Bamford on the right for Leeds. Cuts it back into the box. Rodrigo takes a touch. Lays it off to Helder Costa. Strikes towards goal. It's just wide of Rui Patricio's right-hand post. But again, good work from Leeds. A good counter-attack. Bamford popping up this time on the right-hand side. He was picked out brilliantly. And he does even better, in my opinion, to pick out Rodrigo there. It's a really clever ball. Rodrigo reads it, checks his run. And Leeds get another attempt at goal off the back of it.
Yeah, very clever play. You see Rodrigo is the link player. He's not a pure 9. He's more of a creative presence in the attacking line. And you saw that there. If a pure 9 would take a touch, turn and try and hit it, he instead looks to play in Helder Costa, who's in a better position. But great work from Patrick Bamford to get to that ball.
I think many Leeds fans will probably be happy to see Rodrigo in there ahead of Tyler Roberts, won't they? Because he's not enjoyed a great start to the season. I know it's not really his position, but he has struggled a little bit, I would say, at the start of this campaign.
He has a little bit. Tyler Roberts is something about a cult figure for a lot of Leeds fans. I think just that he has pace, he has the ability to make things happen. But Rodrigo is an international class forward player who has numerous caps for Spain and played Champions League football. He's somebody who can come in and make a real difference. So really interested to see the different kind of positions that he's used in by Marcelo Bielsa.
Here come Wolves now, enjoying a brief spell of possession. Is Moutinho. Back to Connor Cody. To Kilman now. It's back with him. Just turns back and goes all the way back to Connor Cody. Safety first from Wolves. Long ball forward towards Podence, who'd made a run. Unable to find him there, though, as Ayling plays that in towards Click. Here's at Bolly. And now it's Max Kilman again. Bringing it forward again, looking for the run of Podenso. This time made a run across the front line towards that left. Leeds back in possession. Just when Leeds get the ball, they look a lot more threatening, don't they?
They do. It's really interesting possession because they send their central midfielders their eight so high so quickly that you see Calvin Phillips, who Leeds have the ball, and he's almost all on his own in front of the Leeds defensive line. Matej Klich and Rodrigo, if when he is playing in those central areas, they'll push right up towards Bamford to try and create overloads, and then the vertical passes get played into the final third, and then they play quick combinations, and before you know it, they're through you. They're so difficult to defend against effectively, even though they haven't necessarily always got numbers in the centre of the pitch, and that's counterintuitive to a point because you're always told as a young player when you're playing that you need to control the midfield and have numbers in the midfield, and Leeds do the exact opposite.
Here is Willy Bolly. We'll just pick up that loose ball. Leeds pressing. Are they going to be caught out here? They're not, because Calvin Phillips has got it back and he's given it away instantly. It's Symeou on that right-hand side, a summer signing. Here's Calvin Phillips. There's a few Leeds players with that sort of hair in a bun kind of style. Commentator's nightmare.
Making it more difficult for you.
Exactly. Here is Kilman just shepherding that ball out of play. Don't forget, guys, if you are watching us on YouTube, if you're watching us on Facebook, if you're watching us on Twitter, if you're watching us on Hot Mic, make sure you smash that like button. It is so important. Really helps the video get up the rankings. And this broadcast, of course, is brought to you by Total Football Analysis. I'm joined by their head analyst, Lee Scott, one of the best football brains in the business, and I'm delighted to be joined by him to enjoy this game this evening between Leeds United and Wolverhampton Wanderers. We got a question here, Lee, from Tiho. He says, "Hi, Harry and Lee. From what we've seen so far, do you think any of these teams can pose a threat to the Champions League positions?"
No, not yet. I think that Wolves were building towards that. They seem to have stagnated a little bit at the start of the season, but because of the way the results have been going, it's so difficult to tell if that was something that was going to happen naturally or if that's more of a product of the disrupted pre-season that all the teams have had. I think that Leeds could both sides to be fair, could well challenge up towards the European places, but more Europa League. I don't think they're quite there for qualification for the Champions League, but for Leeds in particular, it would be an incredible achievement when you consider that until this season, there hadn't been a significant investment in the Leeds squad. Marcelo Bielsa had taken pretty much the squad that he was given at the start and created something like this from that. It's really interesting to see a coach able to do that. I think that there will be surprises on the way, and I think that Leeds may well tire towards the end of the season, as we see from Bielsa's sides, but there's no reason they can't be challenging for 7th, even 8th position if that's the way that the qualification spots fall this season.
What I find so fascinating about Bielsa is that it's as though he plans always for the long term, yet he is never of the long-term mindset himself, is he? He never really commits to clubs for long periods of time. It's always kind of, it's been a couple of times now, hasn't it, where it's got to the end of the season and then he's decided to commit. So yeah. It's interesting that someone with such a short-term view of things always looks as though he's building something for the longer term.
I don't necessarily think it's short-term view in terms of his own personal situation. I just think that he doesn't.
We've lost Lee there. Not sure what's happened there. Just a dip in the connection. Apologies for the technical issue. We've just lost Lee briefly. I think he'll just log out and back into the stream so that you guys can continue listening to that great answer. We've got a couple of predictions coming through in the live chat. We've got James who says 1-0 Leeds, and we've got Ewan who says 2-1. Big hello to Norwegian Gooner as well, who's also joining us in the broadcast now. Here's Nelson Symeou on that right-hand side. Wolves have won themselves a free kick. 23 minutes on the clock. Leeds United 0, Wolverhampton Wanderers 0. This broadcast is being brought to you by Total Football Analysis. You can join us via the Hot Mic app. You can join us via the YouTube channel. And you can join us, of course, via the Facebook page. Here he is. We've got him back. Can you hear me, Lee?
I can. I don't know what happened there.
I don't know what happened. I'm not even sure if it was your end or if it was mine, but you're back. What were you saying there, sorry, about Bielsa, about maybe it's not necessarily short-term in his mind?
Yeah, I just don't think he sees things like that. He's very big on looking after the team first and himself second. There was one point where he took over as Leeds coach, Leeds Lazio coach a couple of years ago in Serie A, and he left after 2 days in the job because he said that the directors had broken a promise that they'd made to him. Yeah. He set such store in that trust with a club that clubs trust that he'll re-sign if he says that he will, even though he hasn't put pen under contract yet. So his view of how you build a club is always long term because he believes in that, and then he just looks after himself second.
He's a 1 in a million coach, isn't he? There isn't many.
Yeah, like you can see it, and it's such an interesting combination with Leeds and that fan base, that storied history, and then you have Bielsa. You can see why Leeds fans love him.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can see why he took on the challenge, because Leeds United are a club very different to the rest of the Championship, in the sense that, you know, I know there are some big clubs down there, but this is one that really was one of the elite in England for a long, long time. We're not talking about a flash in the pan, a couple of seasons here or there. Leeds were at the top of the English game for years and years and years, and having been absent for so long, it was kind of like a sleeping giant waiting to be awoken, and the project just appealed to him, I think, based on that.
Yeah, I think so. I think that he was already fully aware of what Leeds were when they contacted him. I think that the story is that they made contact, not believing that they would get Bielsa, and then they were surprised when he said yes almost straight away.
They've got a free kick here and an opportunity to get the ball into the box again. Calvin Phillips will deliver it right-footed. Ball hooked away by Symeou. Perhaps Wolves can create a counter-attack here. Here comes Neto down the right-hand side for Wolverhampton Wanderers. Raul Jimenez is in the penalty area. Neto checks back. Looks to shift it onto that left foot of his, but it was good work from the Leeds man who got back, and he's won his team a free kick as well. Really, really good defensive work there from Leeds United, having been in a position where they looked as though they might get caught out. I think it was Click who got back initially, and then it was Ayling, the right back, popping up on the left-hand side. Big hello to Mason in the chat. Big hello to Milk Lolato as well. And to Tiho, who really enjoyed Lee's answer on Bielsa. He says, quality answer and chat from you both. Much prefer listening to you both in the Sky commentary. Thank you very much, mate. We're glad to have you with us as we go through Leeds United versus Wolverhampton Wanderers in this Total Football Analysis live watch-along. We'll be bringing you plenty of these in the coming weeks, so stay tuned. Stay tuned to our Twitter feed at Total Analysis. Or you can follow myself at Harry Symeou and Lee at FM Analysis to keep up to date with what we're doing as well. Have Leeds just won themselves a corner? Nope, it's a goal kick, despite Jack Harrison's protests. Bielsa, what's he sitting on now? Is it a bucket turned upside down? Is it? He's incredible.
I think it's a bucket.
Yeah, he seems to like the bucket. And there was a really good picture of him. I can't remember which game it was actually, but it was earlier this season. It's just gone out of my head, but where it was absolutely chucking it down. And rather than sitting in his dugout, Marcelo Bielsa was sitting on an overturned bucket in the 6-yard box, in the technical box, just taking the rain like his players.
I think there was a game when he was a young coach in Argentina, when he got sent off because he's more restrained now, but he used to be very loud and argumentative and passionate on the sidelines. And when he was sent off from the stands, the players were confused when they could still hear him shouting at them. He climbed a tree in the stand outside so he could see the pitch.
Unbelievable. Mohammed says in the comments that it was the Liverpool game. Yeah, you might be right, mate. Here's Jimenez. just dispossessed on the edge of the Leeds penalty area. Mohammed says, finally, someone who I can listen to while I'm driving. Not found many free quality audio commentary sources. Feel free to subscribe to the channel, my friend, and we'll be bringing you a couple of games a week going forward. So we really, really look forward to that, and we look forward to having you on board. Wolves have got a throw in on that far side, their right-hand side, sort of midway, just over midway into Leeds United's half. Wolves showing signs, Lee, that it's settling a little bit here.
Yeah, I think they weathered the early storm a little bit. The problem is for Wolves that if they push forward too much, they leave themselves open in transition, and Leeds will quickly look to capitalise on that. At the moment, Leeds are struggling to find any real service to Raul Jimenez as a 9, and that's where they need to be making inroads. They need to find a way to either play down the outside or to penetrate centrally, but Leeds press and cut off passing lanes so aggressively that could be difficult.
Here come Leeds. Not sure if Calvin Phillips' ball was intended for Click there, but he got there anyway. Here's Phillips again, just inside the Wolves half. Here's Harrison on the left. One-on-one with Symeou. Good signing, Symeou, Lee?
I think so. I think that anytime you get a fullback with that kind of international level quality and experience, it's going to be a good thing for a club like Leeds. I think Matt Doherty was almost the perfect player for their system in terms from a tactical perspective, and it was surprising they let him leave for Spurs. But Symeou is a more than capable backup, and of course he's Portuguese, so he fits right in.
Exactly. He fits right in.
He got a lot of stick from Barcelona fans, but a lot of players get stick from Barcelona fans, and not necessarily always fairly. There's a level of expectation at that club where you don't find in many places.
For sure, as Ayling puts that into the penalty area. Harrison will retrieve it. Symeou, who we were just speaking about, has gone out to confront the Leeds United winger. Ball's into Click. He finds Harrison on the left again. Harrison will deliver left-footed into the box. Bamford attacks it. It will fall to Ayling on the edge of the box. Fired towards that far post. Certainly was on target, but it was blocked by a Wolves defender. And now Wolves are looking to spring a counter-attack of their own. Fortunately for Marcelo Bielsa's side, though, that attack didn't come to anything. And they can come forward again themselves. Here's Harrison on the left. Big hello to Melik in the chat as well. He says, it's been really great. I'm here for the first time, and this is perfect for watching with the TV sound off. Great commentary. Thank you very much, mate. Rodrigo with a header towards Wolves' goal. It was kind of one of those headers where you need to try and hang in the air for a while, but always going to be difficult. It was Ayling who put the ball into the penalty area. We saw a great header like that at the weekend, didn't we, Lee, from Dominic Calvert-Lewin, but this wasn't quite to that standard.
No, I think that Rodrigo's a lot of things as a forward player, but aerially dominant perhaps isn't one of those. Dominic Calvert-Lewin is a different kind of animal completely. You saw that header, we both talked about the fact the weekend that it was reminiscent of Cristiano Ronaldo, the way that he's able to almost hang in the air and be there in position for when the ball comes in. Rodrigo is more suited to more whipped crosses where he can get his feet on the ball.
One of our listeners, Lee, is asking if we can get a tactical analysis soon on Hellas Verona in Serie A.
More than happy to do any Serie A games.
There you go. That is.
I'm just upset they don't have Kumbula anymore, but we can make two.
Yeah. Well, we were going to bring you guys a Serie A game just a couple of weeks ago. We were all set for Juventus Napoli, but of course there was that whole debacle whether the game was going to go ahead, whether it was not going to go ahead, what the outcome was going to be. Me and Lee didn't even know until a few hours before. We were texting each other. Are we doing this tonight? Are we not? And it didn't help when Juventus were putting out their team sheet, knowing full well that the game wasn't going to go ahead.
Yeah, it was pure shithousery from Juventus, to be fair. But we've also done Juventus Roma this season, so there will be more opportunities for Serie A. I think that you and I, Harry, are both fans of Serie A in general, so it'd be good to do a few games and a couple of Champions League games as we go as well, probably. Although I don't think Hellas Verona will be in the Champions League this season.
Yeah, that's
or next.
We will certainly be doing some more Serie A games in the in the near future, as well as some European ones too. So as I said earlier on, subscribe to the channel, turn the notifications on, and that way you'll never miss a broadcast. Here is Podence on the left hand side for Wolverhampton Wanderers, coming forward, just cuts it back to Moutinho, squares it to Dendoncker, finds Neto, who's taken up position on the right. Very left footed is Neto, looks to go past his man, gets past Dallas, cuts it back across the 6-yard box, but Pascal Struijk was there to get an important foot in and concede a corner. I think it might be Wolves' first one of the game.
Yeah, I think so. Struijk did well there to defend the near post. He had a bit of a difficult baptism this season when he played in the first game against Liverpool, and it's never easy being thrown in as a defender at the last minute, but so far he's doing well. Looks good beside Robin Koch.
So we just wait for this corner to be taken. Plenty of jostling for position going on the edge of the penalty area. Almost looks like they've just said it on the TV. Almost looks like a scrum. It's Moutinho, I think, who's going to put it into the box towards that near post. Raul Jimenez turns it towards goal, but he can't keep it down. But it was a clever tactic, from Wolves, because they kept everyone grouped up, didn't they, in that certain area, and it allowed Jimenez to just burst away and make a run towards that near post, almost undetected. I think we might have... Lee, have we lost you again? No,
I don't think so.
He's there. He's there. We got him.
I am here.
Here is Robin Koch. Good ball forward in towards Patrick Bamford. He'll run all the way through to Rui Patricio, though. Here is Dendoncker. Just tries to turn away from Phillips, who's caught him. Phillips has given away a couple of fouls early on.
Yeah, it's just part of his game, playing in that position. He will give away the odd foul. I think that's the first time I've heard you say Dendonker's name in commentary.
Yeah, you might be right. I think I said it once before in the 35 minutes that we've played, which is incredible. As Cody plays this forward. Koch just helps it back to Illan Meslier. Very much the number one at Leeds now, isn't he, Illan Meslier?
He is, I think. Yeah, there's a very unsavoury incident with Casilla, who was the incumbent before Meslier, but he's done very well since he came in. I think it was Lorient in France that he came from initially on loan and then made the move permanent this summer. He's done extremely well for such a young goalkeeper.
He has indeed. He's got a baby face, but he's certainly big enough for the role, isn't he?
Yeah,
and it's unit.
It's that thing that we talk about with goalkeepers having to be good with their feet as well in a system like this, and he provides that as well as being a good shot stopper. So perfect for Marcelo Bielsa.
Yep. As Phillips stands out to the far post, Harrison's volley across the penalty area almost found its way to Bamford inside the 6-yard box, but Connor Cody, with a vital intervention, prevents Leeds taking the lead. He's put it out for a corner. Bamford was onside there, but the ball was just hit slightly behind him, wasn't it?
Yeah. I'm not sure how much Connor Cody knew about it. I think that he just managed to block it through his body position more than anything else. I think another yard or two forward, and that volley was going to find Bamford for an easy finish.
Gareth Southgate in the stands there, the England boss watching on. He's come in for a lot of criticism lately as well, hasn't he?
He has, and perhaps a little bit unfairly. I think that the lineup for the Denmark game was perhaps slightly questionable. There were a lot of right backs in there. Yeah. I don't think you need that many. But at the same time, I think if you take the job that he's done overall, it's been very, very good and positive for England. And as a Scotsman, that's not always easy to say.
It feels like, for me, like the expectations of England are always way higher than they should be.
Yeah,
that's why there's always a disappointment, isn't there? But we're talking about a nation, and I mean this with all due respect, that hasn't won a major tournament since 1966. So, I mean, what do they expect? I don't get it.
Yeah, and they beat Belgium in the last set of fixtures as well. And Belgium are the number one rated team in the world and a very good international team. And England managed to beat them. I think that you kind of have to take that and give him the opportunity to experiment at this stage, because you know that England are going to qualify for major tournaments. You might as well use qualification to experiment with different things.
Exactly. Harrison puts this into the box for Leeds. It's blocked and it comes straight back to him. Can he keep this on? He does, and he wins his team a corner off of Nelson Semedo, who went out there to close him down.
Jack Harris is looking really bright on loan this season again from Manchester City. I think that Pep Guardiola is obviously very happy for him to go out and play under Bielsa, because he knows the education that he'll get, and it could be interesting next season to see whether Harrison gets an opportunity at Manchester City.
Yeah, certainly. I think this is his third season, isn't it? At Elland Road. Lovely corner from Leeds, cut back to the edge of the penalty area. It came to Harrison, who taken up position on the edge of the box. Comes to his left foot. He was looking to try and place it in one of the corners. You could see that in the way he's shaped up. Here comes another corner for Leeds. Calvin Phillips into the box. It comes to Rodrigo at the far post. Takes it on the chest. Strikes it towards the Wolves goal, but it's gathered by Patricio. But again, another well-worked corner.
Yeah, that was an opportunity. I think the first one was very clever again. We've seen a couple of clever routines this game already, and it's not easy to do, to find a player on the edge of the box with a low corner like that. So very good execution, I think, from Calvin Phillips. But that one, when the ball dropped to Rodrigo at the back post, that is him in his element. That's where he wants the ball to drop to him. He'll be disappointed he hasn't managed to find a corner of the net there.
For sure. 39 minutes on the clock. We're approaching the 40th minute.
It's flown by.
It has. It really has. And that's not always been the case for us on these, has it, Lee?
No. There've been a couple of times, I think, in the early days covering the Bundesliga and Union Berlin games in particular, where a little bit of a struggle at times, more because, recognising the players was a bit difficult, even for me, and I follow the Bundesliga quite closely.
Yeah, it was a nightmare for me, I've got to be honest. Here's Ayling. I find Premier League games so much easier that I have to do very little research, which is great. Here is Helder Costa. Back inside to Calvin Phillips. Wolves camped behind the ball. Every single player currently is behind the ball, apart from Raul Jimenez. Leeds being patient in their build-up at the moment as Calvin Phillips chips it out to the left where Click has taken up position. Back in field to Calvin Phillips. Looks to switch the play in towards Bamford that time. The ball was cleared only as far as Ayling. He's picked it up on the right, just to the right of Wolves' penalty area. He's forced back though by Wolves' solid low block. Streak out to Harrison, takes it down, left-footed, delivers, cut out at the near post by Bolly. And now Symeou will help it clear. Get the feeling, Lee, that Wolves will take a point from this.
Yeah, I'd love to see how many recoveries Leeds have had of the ball in the first half. They seem to always be getting these balls when the Wolves are trying to clear the ball. It's coming straight back to a Leeds player.
Here's Helder Costa driving into the penalty area. It's back out on the right to Ayling. He looks to stand it up at the far post, but he's overhit that. It's gone out for a Wolverhampton Wanderers goal kick. Mohammed in the comments says, really valuable this, especially when so many people can't afford to pay £15 a game. Thank you very much, mate, for your kind words, and we're glad you're enjoying it. And I hope that you didn't pay £15 to watch that West Brom Burnley game earlier, because I could have told you that was going to be a complete waste of time before. CSK says, anyone know how to fix a microwave? I'm not sure you're in the right place, mate. Never change, YouTube, never change. Wolves have a throw in on the far side, they're right. Open play crosses from Leeds, 14 so far, Lee. You spoke about them in the wide areas.
As part of the way that they play, part of their DNA, they look to combine and overload those wide areas through quick passing combinations and access the penalty area. they're not a team who attacks through the final third centrally that often, which is interesting at the top level. It's similar in a way to Manchester City when they look to combine in the wide areas and play that trademark low cross across the face of goal.
Here's Harrison again in a wide position. 1-1 with Symeou. Looks to cut back inside, but he's crowded out in the end. I'm just chuckling away to myself at some of the comments. Here is Moutinho. Anyone know how to fix a microwave? He gets a reply. What's the problem? Isn't it heating? No, the handle came off. What? Here is Neto for Wolverhampton Wanderers. Moutinho just brought down there by Mateusz Klich. Experienced campaigner is João Moutinho. He knew exactly what he was doing in terms of winning that free kick, didn't he? Who have you been most impressed with, Lee? It's got to be Leeds, isn't it?
I think so. I think there's no doubt that Leeds have been the better side there. The way that they've attacked, the way that they've moved forward, the way that they've attacked it in the final third, everything about them at the moment is looking more impressive. But the longer it stays 0-0 in the Premier League this season, you just can't be sure what's going to happen.
This ball comes into the box from Neto. Out comes Meslier, gets 2 hands on it. He does well there, Meslier. He gets some real distance on that punch.
He did. And not something you always see. Obviously, when goalkeepers elect to punch, sometimes it can be a dangerous situation. But if they can clear the ball with distance like that, then why not?
2 minutes of time added on. Going to talk a little bit about the Premier League action from the weekend during the half-time break. If you've got any questions about anything Premier League related, stick them in. If you've got questions about anything else as well, stick them in. We'll try and answer them. But we're going to see one more Leeds United corner before we finish off this first half at Elland Road. Both Struijk and Robin Koch have made their way forward for Leeds here. Plenty of bodies in the box as Phillips delivers it right-footed. Comes all the way through to Helder Costa, who's taken up position on the opposite flank. He'll help it on to Harrison. He's forced back now. Had a minute of the injury time so far. Don't forget to subscribe, like, share. Leave us a comment. Here's Klich. Here is Dendoncker in the Leeds penalty area. Towards the far post. Cut back into the penalty area. Here's Podence for Wolves. Brilliant save from Meslier. Brilliant chance for Wolves right on the stroke of half-time. They haven't done much in an attacking sense so far, but they certainly had Marcelo Bielsa's side struggling there. Good work from Dendoncker.
Yeah, we touched on the fact that you can get a sucker punch at this level when you've had as much possession as Leeds have had, as much attack and play, but it only takes one opportunity for the game to turn, and that was nearly it. Podence got a good hit. You can see the Leeds players try to throw themselves in the way of the ball. That's part of their aggressive defending that they always do, but Meslier was able to block the ball and then fall on the ball as well, so a good moment for the goalkeeper again, but Leeds will be disappointed Wolves will be disappointed not to have done better there.
They will indeed. It was like Podence hit it straight back at the goalkeeper's side, which I found a little bit strange. You could see he had his hands on his head immediately after. He probably realised that as well. But it is half-time at Elland Road. It's Leeds United 0, Wolverhampton Wanderers 0. It's not been a terrible 0-0 though, has it, Lee? It's been a decent watch.
Yeah, it's been a really good game so far. A lot of attacking intent, as we said, it seems to have flown by because of the way that both sides have been trying to play. Wolves are struggling a little bit in possession, but Leeds players seem to be everywhere. It's almost like they've got 13, 14 players in the pitch at times.
It is indeed. Just loading up to take you guys through some of the Premier League action from the weekend. Just going to get some of Lee's brief thoughts, and I'll share some of mine on some of the key games. We covered, of course, the Merseyside derby here, and we had over 40,000 of you join us across the multiple platforms, which was incredible. So a big thank you to every single one of you who joined us, who came on board and listened to the analysis throughout. Lee, just going back to that Merseyside derby quickly, I know we've kind of talked it to death. I think everybody's talked it to death, really. But, I mean, where do Liverpool go from here now without Virgil van Dijk? Are they going to regret not bringing out another central defender?
I think it's very difficult to view it through that prism in terms of recruitment and squad building, because any central defender that Liverpool would have signed over the transfer window would have came in with the expectation that they weren't going to play a lot of first team minutes. So that diminishes the quality of player. I mean, they couldn't have gone out, for example, and got a Gabriel, as Arsenal did, because they can't offer Gabriel the same minutes. The same with Wesley Fofana at Leicester City, who signed from Saint Etienne, another young player who needed minutes and wanted minutes. So any player wouldn't have been quite of the same quality. I mean, who put central defenders are the same quality of Virgil van Dijk? Kalidou Koulibaly at Napoli, arguably, but he's not going to come in to play second fiddle to anybody. I think that it's going to be difficult for them because you're going to see Joe Gomez and Joe Matip, and one of them's going to have to play slightly out of position. And it's people sometimes look at it and say, well, you're still playing as a central defender, so there's not that big a difference. But the difference between playing as the right side of central defender and the left side of central defender, the picture of the game is completely different. It's difficult to get a hold of your angles, especially if you're playing on the wrong side, if you like. So Gomez and Matip are both right-footed, so either one of those is going to find it difficult to take possession of the ball in those areas and then be able to progress the ball the same way Van Dijk does. Van Dijk's right-footed as well, but he's comfortable on his left side. I think that we'll see Joe Gomez play. I think we might see Sepp van den Berg, the Dutchman, come into the first team setup at times as well, which will be interesting for Liverpool fans. But don't forget as well that Fabinho can also play that position instead of playing as the six, so he provides cover and options there, especially now that they have Thiago. So Wijnaldum can play as the six, Henderson can play as the six, then you have Thiago to come into the midfield. So they still have a squad that can account for this. I just think that they're not going to be at the same level defensively without Van Dijk.
Yeah, I agree. It's going to be a real loss to Jurgen Klopp's side, and there are many people suggesting that actually this is a bit of a lever in terms of the title race now, and we may see somebody run them a lot closer than we did last season off the back of this, and as a result of this. Let's talk a little bit about Manchester City versus Arsenal. It was a narrow victory for Pep Guardiola's side. It wasn't a great display. I didn't think from either side, really. As an Arsenal man looking on that and watching the way Man City performed, I was very, very disappointed that Arsenal just couldn't find that extra gear to really, get themselves back into the game. Are you a little bit concerned by that? I guess the lack of creativity in Mikel Arteta's Arsenal side at times.
I think it's always a problem when you play a structured system the way that Mikel Arteta does. And you and I have talked about this before, that the first thing that he did when he came into the club was he wanted to change and improve the culture. So he wanted more people who were focused on winning, focused on doing their jobs. That's why the likes of Mario Guendouzi and Mesut Ozil have kind of fallen out of favour a little bit, whereas Granit Xhaka, who it looked like was on his way out, is very much came back into the fold because of his professional nature. The next thing that he did was solve the defensive issues and make them look a lot more resolute defensively. And then he started to fix the progression and the build-up play, and you see the way that Arsenal build up. Building out from the back, we've talked about this often enough, Harry. It's not for everyone. and there are inherent risks involved in doing so. But when it comes off, as we've seen from Arsenal a few times, the results are breathtaking, and it's very difficult for defences to stop. I think
Yeah.
the next step now is for him to find that creative solution. And the problem is that it doesn't come from the central midfielders in this 3-4-3 almost that he likes to play. It doesn't come from the likes of Ceballos and Xhaka or El Neni or even Thomas Partey when he comes at the side. He's not going to be the creative force. The creativity has to come from the wide players almost, and that becomes difficult when one of your wide players is Aubameyang because he's not creative. He's somebody who wants to get forward and join in and score goals and attack. Willian on the right hand side is for me the answer. They've got to find a way to get him involved more centrally when they're in possession because he can be the creative player that unlocks those defences. But there are still questions for Arteta to answer. But as a young coach in his first full coaching position at this level, he's still doing an incredible job for me.
Yeah, he is for sure. And you mentioned Willian there, and Willian was playing as a sort of false nine at the weekend, which was
Yeah,
really strange and not something that I don't think, or not something I think any Arsenal fans expected. I think Arteta tried to spring a surprise on Pep Guardiola.
yeah,
He probably felt
yeah.
that he couldn't do what he did in the FA Cup and get away with it again. But
Mhm.
credit to Guardiola, he changed the system and he made it very, very difficult for Arsenal.
Yeah, it was kind of a chess match between the two of them, and you could literally see it on the pitch. You could see them trying to outthink one another, which was really interesting for those of us that are interested in the game from a tactical perspective. And I can understandably frustrating for people who are fans on a more visceral level, if you like, that support the club passionately and want to see them win. Some of these decisions and choices, like Willian as the false nine, can be difficult to process, but there was an idea behind it, and it shows coaches who are willing to think outside the box. And sometimes Guardiola is accused of overthinking, but I think he gets these things right more often than not, and I think the same will be true over the test of time with Arteta.
Indeed. Let's move on to Chelsea, held to a 3-3 draw by Southampton at Stamford Bridge. There's been lots of question marks around Frank Lampard. This is just another excuse for people to sort of point the finger at him. But I don't know, there's been some people who have suggested that Chelsea could potentially mount a title challenge this year, having done the business they did. I don't see it, and I think this was another example, wasn't it, of how naive they can be defensively.
Yeah, I think that a lot. I mean, Chelsea's transfer business over the summer was more opportunistic than it was reasons than planned out. They saw an opportunity with the current market being affected by COVID, and they saw an opportunity to make inroads and to sign players that they may not have been able to have a clear run at otherwise. I think that is the case for Timo Werner and Kai Havertz. I think that everybody in football was aware that Timo Werner wanted to go to Liverpool and Liverpool wanted Timo Werner, but Timo Werner in the end didn't want to go and play as a backup option to those front players at Liverpool, and Liverpool weren't that happy to meet his wage demands to play as that fourth striker, if you like. So suddenly the opportunity opened up, and Chelsea were able to complete the deal. But then they go out, and the same thing happens with Kai Havertz. Kai Havertz was supposed to go to Bayern Munich, but Bayern Munich had a gentleman's agreement with Leroy Sané that they would still sign him after they were supposed to sign him at the start of last year before he became injured. They had a gentleman's agreement with him that they would sign him, and that took up a large portion of their transfer budget for this season. So they couldn't make a series run at Kai Havertz. Kai Havertz wanted to leave, and Chelsea were again opportunistic. They had the finances and the financial means, and they were able to complete the deal. But how do you fit them in the same team? They're such individually tactically sensitive players. It is difficult because at RB Leipzig, Timo Werner only ever played as one of a two in attack. He played as the more mobile one with Yusuf Poulsen or Patrick Schick as the more structured reference player, if you like, the one who will receive the ball. But Timo Werner likes to pull to the left-hand side. He likes to drop deep. He likes to combine. He likes to do all these things. He's not a lone forward. Kai Havertz is a chess piece. He can play as a 10, he can play as an 8, he can play as a 9, but Chelsea ended up playing him wide on the right in the first instance, and both of those players have started to look a little bit better, but whether that's purely due to the quality that they have, the fact they're becoming more settled, I think, rather than anything that Lampard's done from a tactical perspective. I think that there are still questions around Lampard as a top level coach, and I hope the short termism at Chelsea doesn't play a factor into his role, because he needs at least another 18 months for me before that team's ready to challenge for the title.
I was surprised he got the job in the first place, if I'm honest. And I felt like because of the transfer ban, it was the ideal opportunity for him where the expectation wasn't very high. To his credit, he got them back into the Champions League, which is excellent.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm still of the thought that that was probably more because of the teams around him, the Arsenals, the Tottenhams, and to a degree the Manchester Uniteds for long periods of the season not actually being at the level required, rather than Chelsea being that good. Am I being unfair when I say that?
No, I think you hit the nail on the head. And what really struck me was that Frank Lampard became Chelsea coach, and he had them playing some good football, and you're right, they got back to Champions League, but they did so in the midst of a transfer embargo. So suddenly Chelsea were using these young players that they had in the system that were coming back from loan, and players like Tammy Abraham and Mason Mount and Reece James. All these players were starting to look good and look like they could be long-term fixtures in a Chelsea shirt. But then, as soon as the embargo's lifted, they go out and they spend 200 odd million, and suddenly the futures of these young players looks more in doubt. Their minutes are greatly affected, and it's just part of the questions that I have around Chelsea in terms of their squad building, their recruitment. Some of it is well thought out and reasoned, but so much of it just seems to be short term. I think you used the term short term thinking when you talked about Marcelo Bielsa to an extent earlier on in this commentary. I think a lot of what Chelsea do is short term. They plan for the singular season to try and finish as high as they can and try and win the league, and then they worry about next season when the next window comes along. And for a club that are supposedly as smart in their use of data as Chelsea are thought to be in terms of recruitment and the processes they have, it's quite surprising.
It is indeed. Just finally, just because the second half is due to kick off any minute now, but just finally, a question from Tiho in the chat. He says, what do you make of Aston Villa this season? Goalkeeper and defence look solid. They've got good midfielders with goals and creativity. I mean, considering they just about avoided relegation last season, it's incredible, isn't it, how impressive they've been at the start of this campaign.
Yeah, and that's the difference between a club who's recruited very intelligently from one season to the next. Last season, when they came up into the Premier League, the recruitment was a little bit haphazard. They signed bulk more than anything else. They signed Alexis Samata and players like that to play as their forward player, and he never came off. But this pre-season, they've gone out and done some very smart business. I think you and I covered Brentford last season in the playoffs, Harry, and Ollie Watkins impressed both of us in those playoff matches. And his impact with this Aston Villa side to be able to hold the ball up, lead the line, get on the end of crosses, and all of these things have been very good. But what's really struck me is the way that he has combined with Jack Grealish, who's playing in almost that left half space position, and the two of those together just absolutely shredded Liverpool when they played them. Some of the combination play, they were finding one another all the time, and then you've got the industrious midfield with the likes of John McGinn, who's had another fantastic international break for Scotland and seems to be a fulcrum at this Aston Villa side. I think there's a lot to like about them, and they've got a really interesting sporting director, Johan Lange, the former Copenhagen sporting director, who's now in charge of their recruitment. So they seem to be doing things in a very measured, methodical, thought-out way, and I think that they're going to do very well this season.
Fingers crossed that from their point of view that they do, because like you said, they had like I said, they had a really tough season last season, so I'm sure the Villa fans will be enjoying their start to this current campaign. Putting 7 past the champions, well, doesn't get much better than that, does it?
You're not going to see a game like that again. I think 3 of those were deflections, and there were all sorts of crazy things around that game with Adrian giving away a goal as well. It's a difficult situation for Liverpool, I think, but you can't take anything away from Aston Villa, because just quickly, what they did in that game that was very intelligent was they took away the threat of Alexander-Arnold as a ball progressor for Liverpool. And because Thiago was in the midfield, Liverpool weren't able to progress the ball past the Aston Villa pressure. What they did was play Jack Grealish quite high on that side of the pitch. So Alexander-Arnold couldn't go forward the way that he normally does to get involved in the attacking play because Jack Grealish was just hanging about in the space behind him. So Liverpool really struggled to find a way to play through and to combine the play forward the way they normally do. And Aston Villa were just continuously able to put pressure on them.
Indeed. We're back underway here at Elland Road. Leeds United 0. Wolverhampton Wanderers 0. No goals as of yet, but a pretty entertaining first period, Lee. I think we both agreed on that, didn't we?
Yeah, definitely. I think there was a lot to enjoy about the game. Both sides were quite open. Obviously, Wolves struggled a little bit to get any meaningful possession, but they still nearly nicked a goal at the end of the first half. So the game could still go either way, but at the moment, Leeds look the more likely to make something happen.
They do indeed. It's a Wolves throw in on that far side, left-hand side. No changes from either manager in this first at half time, I should say. Here is Raul Jimenez just fouled by Robin Koch there.
It'll be interesting to see if we see Rafinha for Leeds in the second half, a signing they made from Rennes in France. A very, very quick, tricky winger.
Very highly rated as well.
Yep.
Be interesting to see how he gets on. We know that Marcelo Bielsa is not afraid of making substitutions, even early on in games.
Yeah, no, he's definitely not. If he sees something, he will make the change.
Here's Moutinho just trying to keep it in on that left-hand side for Wolverhampton Wanderers, but he can't. It'll be a Leeds throw in the right-back position. Ayling's going to take the throw. Hooked forward by Helder Costa, who took that down on his chest. Here is Phillips going in for the challenge. It's back with Dallas, who lays it off to Illan Meslier. Stuart Dallas is a very underrated player in this Leeds side, isn't he, Lee? He can do a number of jobs really, really well.
Yeah, he can. He plays in the full-back position, but we've also seen him move into midfield this season and sometimes in the same game. Very capable of doing different things, and that's another player who really made a difference in terms of when Marcelo Bielsa came in at Leeds, because he was a functional player before that, but he just seems to have taken on a new dimension under Bielsa. He's obviously been coached to be comfortable in a number of different roles and areas of the field.
Calvin Phillips just caught there by a slightly late challenge. I mean, I can imagine we're going to hear from a lot of these players, aren't we, when they eventually either move away from Leeds or retire. We're going to hear about how much Marcelo Bielsa influenced their careers. I don't think there's any doubt about that.
I think one of the main ones at the moment who talks about that from that perspective is Ander Herrera, the former Manchester United midfielder who's now at PSG. He was coached by Marcelo Bielsa at Athletic Bilbao, and he spoke openly about the fact that he now intends to go into management purely because of the impact that Bielsa had on him.
It's incredible. Another Bielsa in the making.
Potentially. There are so many out there. Gabriel Heinze is another one, the former Manchester United defender. He played for Bielsa and I think for the Argentina youth team at one point, and he's now a coach in his own right, and he implements a lot of the same philosophies and game model elements that Bielsa does with his Leeds side with his teams.
Certainly somebody who leaves an impression on everybody he comes in contact with is Marcelo Bielsa.
I thought you meant Gabriel Heinze when he played as a defender.
Well, the less said about Gabriel Heinze, the better. I don't know. I can't be subjective when it comes to players like that, especially when they played for Manchester United. It's hard for me. Here is Helder Costa. Ayling into the penalty area, but it's gathered by Patricio at his near post. Wearing the number 11 shirt is Rui Patricio. Never understand that, but
no. I think we did talk at one point about squad numbers, and I'm a little bit more open to different squad numbers, I think, than you are. But even then, number 11 for a goalkeeper is just criminal.
Yeah, that one drives me absolutely mental. There's Adama Traore warming up for Wolves. Interesting to see him not in the side, actually.
Yeah, I never quite understand. It might be a fitness issue, but certainly you like to have him in the side whenever you can because of the problems that he causes the opposition. He's such a difficult player to defend against, not just because of his speed, but his power as well and his ability to drive through the lines.
Very difficult player to cope with.
I love the fact that he started putting baby oil in his
Yeah,
biceps because he was sick of defenders grabbing his arms. That's quite a clever move.
yeah. Unorthodox but clever all the same. Here is Dendonka. Back to Moutinho. Into Jimenez. Lovely little flick round the corner for Podence to carry the ball forward. He'll play it out to the left-hand side where Roman Saiss has come forward. Ball into the box. Jimenez will gather it. Puts it back to Saiss. It just felt like that was such a difficult option when he had two players in better positions, in my opinion, right in front of him.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Difficult to execute that, and you saw that Saiss was a bit hesitant when the ball came to him and allowed Helder Costa to get back and challenge. But that was an opportunity for Wolves to take advantage of space that they've not always had in the final third.
They've got themselves a free kick now as well in the Leeds half. Symeou went down. It's about midway inside the Leeds half. Moutinho has placed the ball down. I think he's stolen a few yards there as well.
Again, just his experience showing through with that. The referee turns his back, you just flick the ball forward, and he'll probably do it again a little bit here.
Yeah, for sure.
There you go, stretching his arms out there.
It's going to be the Portuguese midfielder to deliver this into the penalty area for Wolverhampton Wanderers. Ball comes in from Moutinho. It's met by the head of Struijk. Cody almost losing the ball to Helder Costa there on the halfway line. My God. Here is Podence on the right now. Entering into Leeds' penalty area. Does really well to create the space for the cross. Stands it up. Comes to Saiss on the edge of the box for Wolves. What a strike that is from Roman Saiss. Wolverhampton Wanderers lead at Elland Road. What a finish that is. And Roman Saiss, of all people, not the most likely of goal scorers. But there you have it, the opening goal of the game. It's Leeds 0, Wolverhampton Wanderers 1.
I don't think anybody knew that Roman Saiss had that in him at all. And I think they're just checking for potential offside here. When Podence collects the ball, you can see that he's just in line, I think, perhaps slightly offside. This is going to be harsh on Saiss if this is taken away, but it looks like it might be.
It looks like it might be indeed.
Podence's foot looks offside, yeah.
He's leaning forward as well, which doesn't help.
And Podence did well there. He collected the ball. He turned the Leeds defender, Stuart Dallas, inside and out, and it was a good cross. You saw Melee wanted to come for it, but he had to backpedal back onto his line because of the angle of the cross. But great touch for Roman Saiss at the back edge of the penalty area. What a volley that is across the goal.
One touch, he kind of lifted the ball, and once it sits up like that, you can't help but hit the volley.
It's the kind of touch that you get mad at for youth players for doing because they're lifting the ball instead of just touching it in front of them. But he just managed to set it up just for that volley.
Still waiting for the final decision, but it's offside.
Yeah, it's offside. You saw him say there. That's heartbreaking for Saiss.
We could see that straight away on the first replay, to be fair, but it makes you wonder, doesn't it, Lee? I'm not disputing the decision. It's the correct one, and we want to see the correct decisions. But why does it take so long when me and you looked at one replay and we worked out it was offside? Why did it need to take the best part of 2.5 minutes?
I don't know. And my issue with it as well is, without VAR, how many great goals throughout history would have been disallowed for offside? True. How many great moments in history would have not happened because of those offside decisions? And again, it was the right one because Podence was offside, but how many of those goals has Roman Saiss could have scored across his career?
Yeah, exactly. Not very many. Here's Symeou. Wolves with a Throw in, almost in line with the Leeds penalty area. On the right-hand side, it's the former Barcelona man who's going to take it. Finds Neto.
That was a foul throw, wasn't it?
Is that what he's been penalised for? It certainly
Well,
couldn't have been offside. It's a throw.
You can't be offside, yeah. It's a foul throw. They've given it to Leeds.
Jesus. Foul throws at this level.
For a regular international who's signed from Barcelona.
We saw a couple of them, didn't we, in a game that we did earlier as well, earlier in the season.
I can't remember who it was, but it was the same player. It might be Bellerin.
Yeah. He done it twice. Yeah, it was.
Yep. But he got away with it.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable that at this level, we're talking about foul throws. Padenza just helps this round the corner. Jimenez looking to hold off the challenge of not one but two Leeds United defenders. It's one his team are throwing. It's done well, the Mexican. Here's Symeou into Podence. It's back to Podence on the edge of the penalty area, looking to create the room for the shot. It's a great effort with his left foot. It had Meslier diving across to his right-hand side, and the Frenchman pulls off a solid save. But again, Daniel Podence causing Leeds problems, and Wolves have started this half really, really well, Lee.
Yeah, you can see the balance of a player there. It's so difficult for teams to defend when an agile player who's able to dribble gets possession in the centre of the pitch like that, because he could go either way. He just touches the ball into his left-hand side. I'm not actually convinced it was going in, but Meslier didn't know that, and he got a good hand on it to push it around the post. See if Raul Jimenez tries the same movement towards the front post here.
Well, it's the same kind of setup, isn't it, where they're all gathering together. It must be so difficult to mark when people do this, and particularly
horrible.
With Leeds, who love the man marking system, as you said earlier. I mean, you just get in each other's way.
Yep.
Here it is, the same movement from Jimenez towards that near post. He tried to just help it on that time, though.
That corner routine's become more and more popularised in recent times, and it's so difficult because the attacking players split to different zones in the penalty area, and they do it very quickly. It's so hard to defend against effectively.
Here come Leeds now with an opportunity to threaten themselves. Jack Harrison just about keeps that in on the left-hand side. Delivers into the box. It's towards Bamford. It finds Helder Costa in the end, but he couldn't do much with it. It's quite open at the moment as Wolves come forward now. Here's Neto. Knocks it past Calvin Phillips. Neto delivers into the box. Stroit gets a foot on it. An important one for Leeds. And now Luke Ayling will bring the ball away.
That was the exact same clearance that we saw from Yerry Mina at the weekend, and it led to a Liverpool goal because it fell to a Liverpool player. Very calm from Stroit, but he took a chance there.
Certainly did. Here is Harrison. Nice work from Leeds. It's put into the box by Harrison. It's dealt with by Max Kilman inside his own 6-yard box.
Just about, I think.
Yeah, just about. It's fortunate that Patrick Bamford wasn't closer to him there.
Yeah.
Obviously, Bamford trying to lose the defender. He's not going to be on top of him, but it's fortunate that there was enough distance between the two players. He certainly didn't deal with that with any confidence. Here's Calvin Phillips now, just inside the Wolves half. His pass is cut out. Wolves have it back. Podenza into Raul Jimenez. Not got much in the way of support at the moment, the big striker. Just checks back. Podenza into Jimenez. Jimenez looking to create room for the shot. Does really well inside the box. Jimenez just loses his footing at the key moment. Was crowded out eventually. Podence's influence, though, on this game is really growing, isn't it, Lee?
Absolutely. He's been a key player in the second half for them, and that was a very clever disguised pass in the feet of Raul Jimenez. It's difficult, though, for a striker to try to beat two players in that situation. Beat one, then get your strike away. Try to beat two, and the angles tend to get closed down, as we saw there.
For sure.
But Podence is doing really well just to collect the ball centrally. You've got to wonder if he was perhaps the one that was going to be taken off for Adama Traore when we saw him warming up, and maybe it's just sharpened him up a little bit.
Here is Podence again. Here's a click for Leeds. To play that out to the right-hand side. Really, really poor ball.
Yeah, that's been a couple of times in the last 10 minutes that Leeds have given the ball away really cheaply. They can be slightly sloppy, if you like, with their quick transition passes, but at the moment they need a little bit more control just to get back on top of Wolves and push them back. You feel like Calvin Phillips needs to take a little bit more time in possession of the ball more than anybody else as well.
Here is a Harrison. Into Click. Wolves pressing Leeds really high up the pitch at the moment, but Leeds look as though they might have played their way out of trouble as Calvin Phillips with the ball over the top towards Helder Costa, but read all the way by Roman Saiz there. Of course, had a goal chalked off, rightly so, for offside, but not against him, against one of his teammates in the lead up. He did brilliantly, took his chance with both hands there. Displayed the type of technique that, I've got to be honest, I didn't think Roman Saiz had.
I'm not sure he knew he had that either, to be honest. At the moment, we've reached the point in the game now in terms of game state where the two coaches really need to be making a choice now of what they're going to do. I think we've seen Adama Traore warming up. Adama Traore for Neto would make a lot of sense for me from a Wolves perspective. And I think that Rafinha for Helder Costa would make a lot of sense from Leeds just to pressure things up and put a little bit more dynamism on the pitch for both sides. They need to find a way, because at this moment in the 60-minute mark, the breakthrough now becomes a real killer in terms of game state.
Wolves have a man down. Calvin
Is that
Phillips.
Moutinho?
Yeah, it looks like it is Moutinho. Calvin Phillips picked up a yellow card for his involvement in that.
It's probably overdue, to be perfectly honest with you. There were a few niggly fouls in the first half. No surprise that he's picked up a booking.
Yeah, you're right. You're 100% right. 62 minutes on the clock now. If you haven't already, give the video a like, smash the subscribe button if you haven't as well, and that way you'll never miss a broadcast. If you turn your notifications off as well, on, not off, even better. So please feel free to do that. You could tell it's a Monday night, and I've had a busy Monday.
You saw there Adama Traore getting ready to come on, and a member of the staff has got the job to apply the baby lotion to his arms at the moment.
I mean,
he doesn't even do it himself.
How do you get a job like that? Would you have to put on your CV?
Well, I think my wife would apply, but she's not been allowed to.
Livin Varghese in the comments asks, how is Podence playing well? Yeah, he's been very influential, particularly in this second half. Kilman just helps it back to Rui Patricio there, and Wolves get it clear. Podence going up in for a challenge with Struik, but in terms of height, there's no competition there. Only going to be one winner. Here is Helder Costa. Into Rodrigo. Just infield to Click. 3 Leeds players trying to make something happen on that right-hand side. Going back to what Lee was saying earlier on about them utilising those wide areas as Rodrigo chips this in. It's taken down by Bamford almost. Looked as though he was going to take it down and turn. Really unlucky. The idea was a good one.
Yeah, he's got that in his game. He's got really good technique for a striker, and usually has a good touch as well.
Did well to stay on side as well, Patrick Bamford. It's been a little bit quiet since the first sort of 10-15 minutes, Patrick Bamford, where he was very involved in the game. But don't rule him out. Very capable of popping up with a goal. Rodrigo just dispossessed by Moutinho. Podence has won it back off Ayling after Moutinho's ball was a poor one. Leeds have it back now. Here's Stuart Dallas at left back. Looking for the run of Jack Harrison. Plays him in behind. Harrison from that wide left position looks to get the ball into the centre of the penalty area, but it's a poor cross and it's gone out for a Wolves goal kick. Here's Adama Traore, oiled up. Almost as though he's posing for one of those world's strongest men competitions. He's going to be replaced.
Podence is coming off.
Yeah, he's going to be replacing Daniel Podence. That's come as a shock. I think he's been Wolves' most influential player. Strange.
Yeah, absolutely. Difficult one. I can see, as I said 10 minutes ago, I would have said that was a sensible choice because it puts Traore in his natural position. But Podence has done really well since that. Certainly shown more in the game than Pedro Neto has on the opposite side.
For sure. Here's Kilman coming forward.
I like that, a young central defender who's willing to carry the ball in the opposition half. That's a good sign from the young Wolves defender, Kilman.
Do you think that we're seeing more of that at the moment and
Yeah,
more of the kind of styles of play that we think are probably more pure because of the fact that there are no fans in the stadium and therefore there isn't that added pressure that comes
potentially.
from the crowd?
Yeah, potentially. I think that in particular is just an aspect of modern football and modern player development where central defenders are now have more time on the ball, similar to the way that the fullbacks changed 10, 15 years ago and became more attacking players. Central defenders are going the same way. Another trend that I've noticed is that we're seeing players who are capable of playing fullback or central defence playing more as wide central defenders in the back three and then having that capacity to then go outside. You see it with Kieran Tierney at Arsenal. When sometimes he'll make those overlapping movements, and that's something that came about due to Chris Wilder and Sheffield United. So he's really been at the forefront of that tactical evolution, and we're actually seeing it a lot more in Scottish football. I've seen a couple of teams up here doing the same thing and having central defenders make those interesting overlapping runs.
Yeah, definitely some of the modern trends.
Yeah, just part of the evolution of the game. It's always interesting to see how those things develop.
For sure. João Moutinho just picked up a yellow card during that little discussion. Here is Dallas. Back in field to Struijk. Now Koch. Looking for options, not much in the way of movement ahead of him. Do you suspect that Marcelo Bielsa may look to his bench soon? There seems to be a lack of energy, a lack of intensity in the Leeds side now, doesn't there?
They need something, and like I said, the change for me would be Rafinha on for Helder Costa. But he's known as a coach who likes new players in the squad to have a period of acclimatization to learn his tactical style, if you like, before he really throws them in. I think Robin Koch was the exception to that rule. But every other new signing, Rodrigo included, didn't start straight away. He was given, despite the price tag and the fact he's an established international player, he still had to learn the role. So it'll be interesting to see if Bielsa does make that move. But it could also be Ian Poveda, the former Brentford and Manchester City player, who could come on and play that kind of role in the wide areas. He's a very technically gifted young attacking player.
He played very well when he came on against Manchester City, didn't he, at half-time?
He's actually the reason that Brentford no longer have a youth team. It was Manchester City, Brentford say poached Manchester City say signed him from the Brentford youth team, and they became so disillusioned with the fact that they were losing their best young players to bigger clubs that they did away with that system and introduced their B team.
Wow. There's a bit of knowledge for you.
Yeah. A little anecdote.
I didn't know that, so I love learning new things. Fantastic story. Here is Dallas for Leeds. I think this might be Rodrigo's first start, just adding to your point.
I think you could be right. He has played minutes. He's came on a couple of times, but his role tonight's been really interesting because it hasn't been as a fixed striker or as a wide attacker. It's been more central, more drifting, looking to pick up the ball, and I think he struggled at times to get the ball into pockets of space. But that's purely because Leeds don't attack, as I said, through the centre very much. They tend to focus their attacks in the wide areas. I think that his ability in around the penalty area will show for Leeds over the course of the season, though.
Here come Leeds. Ayling. Looked inside for the run of Click, but Kilman picks it up for Wolves. Plays a long diagonal ball towards Raul Jimenez. Struijk just lost his footing there, but fortunately for Leeds, Jimenez was unable to take the ball under control on the first ask. Here he is drifting inside, shifting it onto his left foot, back onto his right, strikes towards goal, and it's deflected in. And Raul Jimenez puts Wolverhampton Wanderers in front at Elland Road. I think this one's going to stand, Lee.
I think it definitely will. There's absolutely nothing that Melee could have done about that. As you said, Jimenez had the ball on the edge of the area. There was really nowhere for him to go. He was shifting back and forth, trying to find the angle to shoot. He ended up taking the shot across goal, and it just deflected away in the opposite corner. But he did really well here, picking the ball up. A slip from Struijk let him take possession, but then it's all his own work as he works across and tries to go back. But that shot's going nowhere, and I think it's Calvin Phillips' head that it comes off.
Sometimes you make your own luck, don't you, Lee? Because he's done, like you said, he's done really, really well to take that across the penalty area. Yep. Shifts it back onto his stronger right foot. But in truth, when you look at that replay, that is a weak, poor effort that is going essentially straight into the arms of Illan Meslier. But for the huge deflection off of Calvin Phillips, which takes it into the opposite corner. And there you have it. Wolverhampton Wanderers lead with 70 minutes on the clock at Elland Road. Jan Poveda has come on for Helder Costa, just as you predicted, Lee. Will we see an injection of energy into this Leeds team? Because in truth, Wolves have deserved that based on this second half display.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's been a completely different second half. The first half was all Leeds. Leeds were the ones pushing forward, making chances, creating openings, and looking like they would score. The second half has been much more about Wolves. They've been more structured. They've been more settled. They've found progression in the final third a lot easier. But even then, I think that Raul Jimenez is lucky to have got that deflection. I think that, but sometimes I suppose you could say that things even themselves out. And we talked about the fact that Roman Saiz was unlucky to have his disallowed. So perhaps that's just even itself out over the course of the second half.
Getting ready to restart here. Leeds United 0, Wolverhampton Wanderers 1. I guess it is a Raul Jimenez goal. It was on target, although it wouldn't have been a goal, and we're certain of that had it not been for a huge deflection and a huge slice of luck. But as I said, you make your own luck. Wolves have been the better side in this second period, and Raul Jimenez's persistence has brought him some benefit in the end. Here's Rodrigo, looks to slip in Poveda. Here's Saiz for Wolves now. He goes down under the challenge of Poveda. Wins his team a free kick. It will just take the sting out of the game again for Wolves, which of course they'll be looking to do given that they now lead. Paolo Hernandez is also getting ready to join the action. Very creative player, isn't he? Someone who was very important to Leeds last season.
Yeah, massively so. He was the creative fulcrum for the side and had so many incredible moments and assists and goals over the course of the season. I think that he's been unlucky with injuries and fitness issues this season so far, but certainly expect him to have an impact once he's fit again.
Question is, can he have an impact here when Leeds need him? They currently trail at home to Wolverhampton Wanderers. Here's Adama Traore. You're not going to muscle him off of the ball. Into Neto. Creates the space for the shot. Tries to anyway, but Ayling was back there defending, doing what he does best. Bielsa just giving Hernandez some instructions.
I think this will be either Rodrigo or Bamford. I'll be interested to see which one.
I think you might be right. Here is Neto for Wolves down in the corner. Has he won his team a corner? He has. Good work. Wolves have won 26 of the 32 games they've scored the first goal in since they were promoted back to the Premier League in 2018.
They're a very, very efficient team when they take the lead. They tend to be quite difficult to dislodge because they're so organised from a tactical perspective.
Can they add to their lead? Can they extend it? Referee just having a word. It's that tactic from Wolves again, bunching everybody up on the edge of the penalty area, making it really difficult for Marcelo Bielsa's side to carry out their man marking system in towards that far post. Then Donker gets a touch. Rodrigo just gets his body in front of it. I think Rodrigo's won his team a free kick as well. Hernandez is coming on. But who is making way? It is Pascal Struijk. Well,
That's such a Bielsa thing to do. Who knows what they're going to do now? But yeah, Pascal Struijk, the centre defender, coming on for a creative midfielder.
are we going to see Luke Ayling become part of a back three maybe? Are we going to see Calvin Phillips drop? Who knows? We'll have to see how this pans out.
At the moment, it is Calvin Phillips, but that'll be situational. He'll push forward in possession as well, and you'll essentially be left with Robin Koch as the only defender at times here. You see Koch there dropping back. He's on a line all of his own, and Calvin Phillips will play in defence but step into midfield.
Here is Poveda on the right for Leeds. Delivers it low into the box. Cody's got time to take a touch before playing it clear, but it will come straight back. Here's Patrick Bamford with his back to goal on the edge of the box. Goes down under Cody's challenge. Wants a free kick. He's not going to get one. For those of you just joining us, some of you asking why the first Wolves goal was chalked off. Well, it was because Daniel Podence had strayed just offside in the build-up. That's why the goal was ruled out. A VAR check came to the right call.
Yeah.
It did take a while, but it was the right call.
His foot was definitely offside.
For sure. Don't forget to hit the like button if you haven't already. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Here come Leeds with Rodrigo. Harrison into the penalty area. It's just over the top of Bamford's head, who was lurking at the far post. Poveda won't be able to retrieve it. It's gone out for a Wolves throw-in on their left-hand side.
The rotations there from Leeds were just incredible to build that breakthrough and get the crossing opportunity. You had Stuart Dallas, who looked like he was playing as a left-sided centre-half, but all of a sudden pushed forward in half space and pulled the Wolves midfielders, defenders towards him and just opened up the space for Harrison to get that through ball. It's something that Leeds do extremely well. They send runners and create overloads and break through that way. It's just the execution in the final ball hasn't been there tonight.
Here is Meslier, outside of his comfort zone, outside of his penalty area. Does well, though. Leeds will start another attack. Here's Dallas coming forward again. Now Rodrigo will pick it up. He's playing in that kind of left half space now.
Yeah.
Rodrigo.
And Hernandez will be on the opposite side, in the right-sided half space. Lots of creativity in the final third.
For sure. But can they make it count? Can they put it to good use? Can they find an equaliser between now and the final whistle? Leeds, of course, trailing by 1-0. A goal scored somewhat fortuitously by Raul Jimenez. Here is Harrison. Looks to help it onto Bamford. Just can't help but feel Harrison maybe had an opportunity to let fly there from the edge of the box. Here's Traore carrying the ball forward for Wolves. Wins his team a free kick just inside the Leeds United half. Give his team a breather. An opportunity to push further up the pitch.
I read somewhere the other week that Traore says that he doesn't do weights.
Yeah,
he claims
I've read
that
as
his
well.
physique is pure DNA, if you like. That's just his genetic makeup more than anything else. But as a young player, he certainly didn't look like that.
Agreed. And I want to eat what Traore eats, if that is without going to the gym, because that is incredible.
It certainly is.
He could be a WWE wrestler and nobody
Easily.
would bat an eyelid. Yeah. He would not look out of place there. I don't buy that for a second, that he's not touched the weights.
It's interesting because at his previous clubs, there was a lot of talk about the fact that he was a little bit one-dimensional in terms of only using pace and not on a final ball. But Nuno Espirito Santo said that when he came to Wolves, he saw a young player who had just never been taught to do these things and how to execute a final ball. And a little bit of coaching has done him a world of good.
It has indeed, as Hernandez puts this corner into the box for Leeds. Neto will just help it on. Then Donker with an opportunity to get it clear now. He helps it on to Neto instead. He's knocked it past his man and done really, really well there. Neto showcasing his pace. Does really well there, Neto, but as does Poveda, who's tracked all the way back to win the ball back for Leeds, and they can come again now. As Paolo Hernandez carries this forward. He's got Harrison outside of him. Finds Harrison. He plays it back in field to Click. Here's Ayling now. Looks up. Thinks about putting it into the box. Does in the end. It's helped on by Poveda. It's come to Harrison. Comes back to Hernandez. Deflected just over the bar. Beg your pardon, it wasn't Poveda. It was Hernandez all along. He helped it on to Harrison. Got it back to strike towards goal. But the deflection off of Bolly just takes it over Patricio's crossbar. It means it's another Leeds United corner. Calvin Phillips is going to deliver it into the box. Headed clear at the near post by Raul Jimenez. Back doing his defensive duties, as he always does on set pieces. Ball just drops in the penalty area. Helped away by Dendoncker for Wolves. Neto is, I guess, proving to be a pretty good outlet at the moment for Wolverhampton Wanderers.
Yeah, it's important to have pace when the game is at this stage, when you're 1-0 up, and as you say, your striker drops back to help against set pieces. You need to leave pace high up the field so that they're able to stretch the defence and hold the ball up.
Phillips plays it forward. Rodrigo, don't think was the intended recipient of that pass, but he got something on it anyway. Jimenez just putting Calvin Phillips under pressure. He did catch Phillips. Don't think he can have any complaints about that. Phillips has gone down holding his shoulder, which isn't good for Leeds, but I'm sure he'll be fine as he gets straight back up. Looks like Wolves are preparing another change. Leeds are preparing one too. It is going to be the new boy for Leeds, Rafinha. He's replacing Jack Harrison.
Rafinha is rapid, real bag of tricks. He's got the ability to go inside or outside. He changes direction very quickly, and he's got a final ball. So definitely a good choice for Leeds. But again, sensible as well from Wolves here with Ruben Neves coming on for Moutinho, a player who'll come on and just slow the game down and dictate the play a little bit. Moutinho looks a little bit worn out after chasing the Leeds players in the defensive phase for the whole game.
Indeed. So Moutinho makes way for Neves. Harrison makes way for Rafinha, who I think, by the looks of it, probably goes to the same barber as Rodrigo. Thought that hairstyle went out of fashion years ago, but obviously not.
Not in Southern Europe.
Not in Southern Europe, exactly. Here's Symeou. Hooks it up into the air. Here's Luke Ayling on the halfway line now for Leeds. Long diagonal crossfield ball towards Rafinha. He'll take this down. Low cut back into the penalty area. It's going to fall to Poveda. Is it going to go in? It's just eluded Rodrigo there as the ball deflected up. The former Valencia striker was not far away from it, but he couldn't make contact. And Wolves survive.
And that just shows the variance of football. A great pass from Luke Ayling. Rafinha did well to reach it, and then a great cutback. But for Wolves, the deflection went in their favour with the goal from the striker. But here, for Leeds, you saw a deflection. The ball looked just wide.
Here's Calvin Phillips. It's all one-way traffic at the moment. As you'd expect, given that Leeds trail. Here is Bamford. Heavy touch from Patrick Bamford as he just entered the Wolves penalty area. It's back with Rui Patricio, and he's going to take his time, no doubt. It's a good cutback, this, from Rafinha, considering it was his first involvement in the game. He was clearly looking for Paolo Hernandez, but the corridor was just closed out for the Leeds man. Turned out to be a good pass, that from Click, although I don't think that Calvin Phillips was the
no
intended target.
He opened up his foot a little bit too much. I did think the angle wasn't quite right. Patrick Bamford's just been penalised for a foul there on. Yeah. That wasn't smart for Bamford. He didn't have to do that, but he put his arm out and dragged the player back to stop him moving outside to close down the angle on the ball.
if Leeds do go on to lose this, be their third defeat of the campaign. Have I read that right? Will it be their third or will it be their second? I'm trying to think what the third would be.
Lost to Liverpool in the opening game.
Yep.
Can't recall them having lost another one.
Neither can I, but I'm going by the PremierLeague.com's table, which says that they've lost 2. Perhaps they're including this one. Perhaps it's a live league table.
Could be a live table, yeah.
Yeah. Didn't seem right when I first read it.
They've certainly taken well to the Premier League. I think they've been a great addition back up at this level.
For sure. They'd have been pleased. Well, they will be pleased with the, 7 points, regardless of whether they lose this or not. Here is Rodrigo. If you think that 40 is the magic number and they're almost a quarter of a way there, just 5 games in. Rodrigo there, just trying to play Bamford in, but Cody was alert to it. Cody did really well. He was sharp there, alert.
And that's the way in Patrick Bamford you do see his limitations slightly when it has to be that clever movement to go choose the correct channel to attack down.
Smashed up into the air by Bolly. Neves helps it on. Here's Neto. Here's Paolo Hernandez now as Leeds have got it back. Here's Adama Traore on the right-hand side for Wolves, in line with the edge of Leeds' penalty area. Not much in the way of support. Raul Jimenez has got into the penalty area. Traore just tried to hold the ball up, ended up being dispossessed. But regardless, he's earned his team a few more seconds. Rajiv Kumar asks in the chat, did you watch Burnley West Brom? I didn't. And I had no intention of watching that when I saw what the game was earlier on this evening. And I'm not disappointed that I made that choice or that decision, given it was a 0-0 board draw. Here is Ayling. Hernandez. Rodrigo inside the penalty area, forced out of it though by Connor Cody. Leeds have it in that wide area on the right, trying to work the space for a cross. It's delivered by Ayling in the end, gathered by Patricio, who goes down on the ground. And as you'd expect, he is in no rush to get on with things. Rui Patricio just using his vast experience. And you said it, Lee, you said about how efficient this Wolves side are.
Yep.
And it's those kind of things as well, isn't it? They've got, as well as some interesting youth, they've got a lot of experience in this side.
Yeah, they do. There's a lot of players who play at the top level and they know exactly how to manage a game, especially from this kind of situation. We've just seen the statistics up on the screen there, and Leeds have got over 65% possession in this match, and it just goes to show that Wolves have had to be resolute defensively, and they've had to make their blocks and cut off passing lanes, but they've also done well to take the chances that they have had with the goal disallowed from Saiss and then the deflected effort from Raul Jimenez. I think that Wolves have done very well to get to this stage in the game, and now they'll just see it out.
Pedro Neto has been replaced by Marçal. Bit of a coming together there between Koch and Raul Jimenez down by the touchline. Nuno Espirito Santo's not happy. Bielsa's not happy either. I don't know if it's because I know that he essentially bottled it in the Merseyside derby, even when sitting in front of a screen. But I look at this referee and I'm just not filled with confidence that he knows what he's doing.
That's certainly one way to look at it. There was one point early in the game that struck me when a player hit him with the ball and he just seemed to be quite surprised by it. I wasn't sure if that was a Liverpool fan that was playing it, perhaps hit the ball off him when he's walking past. There are some referees that inspire confidence and inspire respect from players. You think of obviously Pierre Luigi Collina
Yeah.
from years ago with that completely shaven head and those bulging eyes. Referee players didn't really take the mick too much with him, but there are others that you get the sense that players understand that they can push their luck a little bit more, and that might be the kind of position that we're in just now.
Was there a little kick out there from Raul Jimenez as he went
Yes,
over?
there
It
was.
certainly looked like it.
There certainly was.
He's going to get away with it, though.
And he's got that bit of temperament to his game. I think that's part of what makes him such a good number 9, if you like, for Wolves and for Mexico. He's got that aggression to his game.
It's a poor pass from Raul Jimenez back to Nelson Semedo, and Leeds have a throw in as a result. 6 minutes of time added on here. Nearly had one of those. Ayling across the field to Dallas. Here's Click as Leeds try to find their way through this stubborn Wolves defence. Bar, I guess, the first 10-15 minutes. Wolves have defended pretty well, haven't they? They've been resolute.
Yeah, they have.
Been compact. They've been organised.
They're very good defensively. The back three is always well positioned, well spaced. They cover angles really well. They prevent the opposition from playing into the penalty area too easily and too cleanly. And that's something that comes from a very well coached side. And no surprise, given the fact that Nuno Santo used to be a goalkeeper, that he understands how to set up defensive blocks to frustrate the opposition.
Indeed.
I think he was a goalkeeper under Jose Mourinho at Porto.
I think that's right, yeah. And I guess as a goalkeeper, it's probably even easier. It's even an even better position to watch the shape of a defence in front of you rather than be in it. Here come Wolves. Can they find a second and put this game beyond doubt? Neves strikes from the edge of the box. It's blocked. It comes back to him. He has a second bite at the cherry, but this time Ayling gets his body in the way. An opportunity for Wolves there to have put this game to bed. Dispossessed was the Leeds man by Raul Jimenez. I think it was Click who lost the ball.
That was great defending from Leeds there, though. You see Calvin Phillips blocking the first one, the ball broke into the penalty area, and Luke Ayling's thrown himself in the 93rd minute over to block another ball. I don't think I've ever seen Ruben Neves score from inside the penalty area, so that could have been a collector's edition.
Yeah, that's right. Here is Rafinha. Rodrigo looks for the run of Rafinha, plays him just in behind Symeou. Rafinha chips it in towards that near post area. It was a poor cross. Is Rafinha left or right-footed, Lee, do you know?
Left-footed. For Rennes, he played almost exclusively from the right-hand side. He liked to make those diagonal runs to join the striker. Obviously here playing on the left-hand side, the rule's slightly different, but he should be able to do that no problem. Should have done much better with that cross. It was a good combination again. You saw how clever he is when he got the ball. He paused in possession and waited for the pass into that little space that the diagonal came open, then he's able to play the 1-2 to get free.
Who's your man of the match, Lee? The TV have given it to Max Kilman.
Really? That's a bit of a stretch.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think. Have I missed something? Have I forgotten something that happened and that would, make him the choice? I
think it's a difficult one. The player that's impressed me the most from an overall perspective is probably Luke Ayling. I think that he's done really well defensively. He's popped up in the opposition half. He's played a lot of very intelligent passes, but again, the TV tends to give it to the most high-profile player. So I'm quite surprised that that's going to Max Kilman, because they tend to just give it to the goal scorers.
That's right. Leeds have taken this free kick quickly. Here's Rafinha. This cross was blocked by Raul Jimenez, who's back again defending.
He works so hard for this team, and that's something that's really underrated. I know there's a lot of talk that if it had been the COVID effect on teams' finances, he could have got a move to a bigger club than Wolves, potentially, Raul Jimenez, but he does so well for them and fits their ethos so well.
He's found a home there, hasn't he, Raul Jimenez?
Yeah, massively so. He did well when he was at Benfica and Atletico Madrid, but he never set the world alight. It wasn't really until he came to Wolves that he really started to show his true worth and his true potential, because he was always a very highly rated striker.
Yeah.
Somebody who wouldn't look out of place in Mikel Arteta's Arsenal side.
Agreed. Here's a corner for Leeds. 95 minutes on the clock. Just a minute of stoppage time remaining. Can they find an equaliser? Deflected, sorry. Headed clear. Built that corner up, and that was a waste of time. Here's Calvin Phillips. Here's Poveda. His cross is blocked, and then it's cleared by Dendonka.
You can't hit the first defender in that situation. Poveda received the ball in space, cutting into the penalty area, and still couldn't get the ball past the first defender.
Here's Dallas. Thinks about launching it into the penalty area. Decides against it. He's got it back, Dallas. This time he will put it into the box. He's come to the right-hand side where Rafinha will pick it up. He chips it into the penalty area. Met by the head of Connor Cody. Cushioned down by Marçal, and then Neves smashes it clear. It's full-time at Elland Road. It's Leeds United 0. Wolverhampton Wanderers 1. Raul Jimenez's deflected goal is the difference between the two sides on the night. Marcelo Bielsa will no doubt be disappointed, particularly given the way his side started this game. But it's Wolves who come out on top, and Wolves who will travel back home with all 3 points. Thank you to everybody who joined us on this latest edition of our watch-along series. As I said, Leeds United 0, Wolverhampton Wanderers 1. By no means a classic in terms of the scoreline, but a very interesting encounter all the same. My thanks to Lee Scott for joining me. Lee, how can people keep up with you on social media?
The best way is probably through Twitter. You can find me at FM Analysis.
Brilliant stuff. Do check out Lee's profile, and check out totalfootballanalysis.com. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. For those of you asking when we're going to be back, if you subscribe, turn your notifications on, you will get a notification when we schedule our next match. We'll also be putting those out on the socials in the coming days, so keep your eyes peeled, and you'll be able to see when we're going to be back bringing you another live game. So until next time, take care of yourselves and stay safe. Cheers.